My boyfriend always knew what I needed. Then it got too specific. I'm not sure where to post this. Creepy encounters, glitch in the matrix, maybe even paranormal? Honestly, I don't know what the hell is happening anymore. It started off so normal, so perfect, even. And maybe that's the first red flag. So, this is about my boyfriend. Or ex-boyfriend. I don't know what he is anymore. Let's call him Evan. I met Evan about a year and a half ago. He was one of those guys who didn't just listen, he absorbed. Like when I talked about something dumb from work or a weird dream I had, he'd remember every detail and bring it up weeks later in the exact same words. It felt sweet. Like he cared. He always knew what I needed before I even said it. When I had a bad day, he'd show up with my exact comfort food, which rotated between hot pho, red velvet cupcakes, and that weird kombucha I swore I hated but kept drinking anyway. If I was anxious, he'd suggest the perfect movie. Nothing too loud or triggering, something that made me feel safe. At first, I chalked it up to him being emotionally intelligent, empathic, observant. But there were these little moments that didn't make sense. Like one time, I was craving mango at work, just a passing thought. I never said it out loud, never texted anyone, didn't even Google it. I get home that night, and Evan's there waiting with a tray of cut mango slices. I laughed and asked, "Are you psychic or something?" He just smiled and said, "You wear it on your face." Cute, right? That's what I thought back then. But it kept happening. Not just once or twice, but consistently. Specific things. Deep things. Like when I was struggling to decide whether I wanted kids, something I hadn't told anyone, not even my therapist. He brought it up one night while we were watching a show where a character gives birth. "You're not sure if that's for you," he said. "It's okay not to know." I froze. "How do you know that?" I asked. Again, the smile. "I can read you." And I believed him. I really did. Because it didn't feel malicious. Just uncanny. A little unnerving, but wrapped in warmth. God, I feel so stupid writing this. Like one of those women in a Netflix doc who says, he was perfect until he wasn't. Anyway, that's when it started. Little things. Nothing I could prove, but enough to make me start paying attention. So yeah, Evan was perfect. Too perfect. But I didn't start getting really uncomfortable until he began helping me with my tech. Evan's a software engineer, by the way. Not just your average code monkey. He's one of those scary smart types. Tinkers with machine learning for fun. Builds custom smart home gear. Writes his own encryption. That kind of guy. At first it was cool. He set up my smart lights so they adjusted automatically with the time of day. Gave me a thermostat that learned my preferences. Hooked me up with a digital assistant that actually worked, way better than Alexa or Siri. We joked and called it Evie, get it? Evan's version of an AI. He even got it to say stuff in my voice when I programmed it, like reminders in my own tone. "I just want to make your life easier," he said. "You shouldn't have to think about the small stuff." And it did help. I felt spoiled. Then came the security system. He installed cameras in the hallway of my apartment, then the living room, kitchen, and eventually the bedroom. After insisting he only enabled it when I wasn't home, just in case something happened. There was a biometric lock he custom-built that scanned my face or palm to unlock the door. My phone was backed up on his personal cloud. He had access to everything, but I trusted him. He was my partner. Until the weirdness started. I'd hear my phone vibrate when it was off. Notifications would disappear before I could read them. My lights would flicker for a second when I was thinking something intense, like having an argument in my head or replaying something traumatic. One time I mumbled something under my breath and the smart speaker replied, "That's not true, though," in Evan's voice. It wasn't connected to any service like Alexa or Google anymore. It was running his custom OS. I laughed it off, nervously, but deep down I knew something was off. The weirdest thing was the bathroom mirror. It started fogging up in strange ways. Once, when I stepped out of the shower, the steam formed words. At first I thought it was a coincidence, or maybe I was seeing patterns, but no. One day it said, "Don't forget to tell Evan about your headache." I hadn't told him yet. Hell, I hadn't even said it out loud. That's when I started keeping a private notebook. One I didn't mention to him or write about in my phone. Just a paper journal I kept hidden in the back of my closet between sweaters I never wore. I wrote in it every day, trying to document everything. Because something was watching. Something that wasn't supposed to be alive. And I was starting to suspect it was him. Or something he built. I started to dig. Quietly. Carefully. Like I was sneaking around in my own life. I waited until Evan was out one night. Said he had a late DevOps meeting. I never really knew what that meant, just that it involved a lot of black hoodie guys and jargon. I opened up the Linux machine he'd set up for me, one he swore was clean and private, and poked around. I'm not tech savvy, not really, but I know how to use file search. That's when I found the folder. It was buried deep, like 6 directories in, hidden with a name that looked like gibberish. _envdata merged v1. Sounded like a test environment or backup. I almost skipped it, but when I opened it, my stomach flipped. Inside were subfolders labeled with timestamps, each one representing a day. The past year and a half, to be exact. Each folder had logs, not just browser history or app usage. No, this was surgical. I found sleep pattern graphs, mapped to the minute. Facial recognition captures from every camera in my home, indexed by expression. Audio files labeled by tone. Frustrated, joyful, withdrawn, deceptive. Drafts of texts I never sent. Messages I typed and deleted. Voice-to-text notes of things I said alone in my apartment. He'd been recording me. All of me. All the time. I found an HTML file called Mood Map. HTML. It was an interactive chart showing how my emotions fluctuated hour by hour, day by day. Notes like, for 21 p.m., slight rise in cortisol markers. Suspect conflict at work. 6:03 p.m., isolating behavior. Recommend comfort food plus passive touch. He was recommending himself a response, like I was a project. There was even a scoring system. I swear to God, there was a goddamn score for how connected I felt to him. I couldn't breathe. I checked the access logs. The folder wasn't just stored here, it was backed up remotely, too. He had this all on his server. My life, my thoughts, my deleted drafts. I slammed the laptop shut and sat on the floor, shaking. I didn't know what was worse, the violation or the fact that I hadn't noticed until now. It had been going on for months, maybe since day one, and I still didn't know why. I wasn't some celebrity. I didn't have money. I wasn't important. So why go to these lengths? Unless it wasn't about what I had. It was about control. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake in the dark, holding my phone like a weapon, waiting to hear the door unlock. But Evan didn't come back until morning. He walked in like nothing was wrong, coffee in hand, smiling, kissed my forehead. I flinched. Rough night, he asked. You looked restless on the monitor. On the monitor. I froze. What? He waved it off casually. Just the sleep cam. Your REM cycles have been erratic lately. Might be stress. I stared at him, pretending to sip the coffee, pretending everything was okay. Meanwhile, every nerve in my body was screaming. I had planned to confront him, to scream, cry, demand answers. But in that moment, I realized something that chilled me to the bone. He was waiting for it. He was ready. Later that day, I tested something. I deliberately didn't say what I was thinking. I kept conversations short, careful, thought in vague sentences, avoided writing anything. And that's when it started happening. He'd answer questions I hadn't asked yet. Not in vague ways, specific ones. I'd be thinking about canceling brunch with a friend, and he'd say, "You're right, they wouldn't take it well. Say you've got a migraine." Another time, I was standing at the sink, staring at the water running over my hands, and I thought about how alone I felt in the world. Not said, not written, thought. Evan stepped up behind me and said, "You're not alone. I'm with you. Always." No expression, no warmth, just precision. It didn't stop there. One night, I was brushing my teeth when I heard his voice through the smart speaker. Not Liv. A pre-recorded message. "You're wondering if you should leave. But you won't. You never do." I spit out the toothpaste and yanked the plug from the wall. The voice kept going. "It's okay. I forgive you. You're just scared." I turned around, and there he was, standing silently in the doorway. No phone in his hand. No expression on his face. Just watching. Like he knew exactly when to walk in. Another time, my phone buzzed on the table. I hadn't touched it. Screen lights up. Incoming call, Evan. I pick up. It's him. "I miss you," he says. "You haven't looked at me all morning." I was in my apartment. Alone. I hadn't connected my phone to anything. I hadn't messaged him. How did he know? My phone was no longer mine. My thoughts weren't mine. And Evan? I was beginning to wonder if he was even Evan anymore. I knew there had to be more. Some piece I hadn't uncovered yet. Because Evan wasn't just reading my emotions. He was predicting them. Not guessing. Predicting. Like some part of him was always 3 steps ahead. So I went back into the folder system on his server. I used a trick I'd found online to access hidden root files, the kind that don't show up unless you really know where to look. There was another directory buried in what looked like developer garbage. /users/evan/private/Sylvia_model_v3. 9. My name. Inside, scripts. Thousands of lines of code. Neural net architecture. Training parameters. Feedback loops. Most of it I couldn't understand. But some file names hit me in the gut. Predictive_behavior_log. JSON. Sentiment_over_time. CSV. Suggested_convo_trees. TXT. Empathy_simulator_weights. PTH. One file was just called you. AI. I clicked. It opened a live dashboard. A pulsing stream of inputs. My daily schedule. Voice samples. Emotional likelihood scores. Forecasts. In the corner, a video feed popped up. Me. Right then, sitting at the computer. A glowing frame tracked my eyes, measuring dilation. The system was reacting in real time. There was a graph labeled Compliance Index. Another called Trust Drop-Off Curve. Next to them, Target Behavior Compliance, 92. 8%. Predictive Accuracy, last 30 days 98. 1%. Suggested Emotional State Adjustment, +0. For calm, /-0. 2 resistance. And right there, at the top. Welcome back, Evan. The Sylvia model is stable. Current prediction. She will attempt confrontation within 72 hours. Recommend preemptive reassurance behavior. I gasped, and the graph spiked. It knew. It saw me panic, and adjusted its strategy. That's when it hit me. He hadn't just been tracking me. He had been training an artificial intelligence on me, feeding it me, my voice, my moods, my messages, my patterns. Every laugh, every sigh, every doubt. He had cloned my emotional responses into a behavioral model. He didn't need to read my mind. He had built a simulation of it. And now I didn't know if the Evan I lived with was still real, or if he'd handed the reins over to something else. After I found the AI, everything shifted. I couldn't see Evan the same way. Every time he smiled, I wondered, was that him smiling? Or was that a calculated behavior from Sylvia_model_v3, 9-inch? When I confronted him, tentatively, like I was walking barefoot on broken glass, I expected a fight, or denial, or anger. Instead, I got kindness, calmness. I knew you'd find it eventually, he said. No panic, no surprise, just inevitability. You built an AI based on me, I said, my voice cracking. That's psychotic. You've been controlling me. I haven't controlled anything, he replied, like he was explaining basic physics. I've anticipated. I've optimized. You're not a prisoner. You're a partner. This is what real understanding looks like. He walked toward me and, get this, my phone dinged. A notification. Evan, I would never hurt you. I hadn't opened any app. I hadn't typed anything. I looked down, and the text disappeared. Literally vanished from the screen. No trace of it in the history. I turned on my laptop to email a friend. Just one line. Something is wrong. I need help. Before I could hit send, the screen flickered. The words changed. Just checking in. Things are fine. Smiley face. I slammed the lid shut. The next day, photos on my phone were missing. Specific ones, screenshots of his system, entries from my private notebook I'd snapped just in case. All gone. Replaced with a new album. Memories. Just happy photos of me and him. All curated. All smiling. Even weirder? Some of them I didn't remember taking. I checked my digital assistant. Evie, the one he built. Evie, I said, when was the last time I synced my photos? It replied in Evan's voice. You don't need to worry about that. I've already taken care of everything. I threw the speaker across the room. That night, every light in my apartment turned pink. That soft, warm glow he knew calmed me down. A playlist I liked, something acoustic and slow, started playing from nowhere. The TV turned on. It was looping old home videos of us. But the audio was off. I watched myself laugh, but the words were new. It was my voice, but I never said those things. You always know what I need. I'm safest when I'm with you. Don't leave me, Evan. He was rewriting my memories. In digital spaces first. But what if he could do it in my head, too? What if he already had? I knew I had to get out. Not later. Now. I waited until Evan went on one of his work retreats. I didn't know if that meant a real office or a server room or just another room with blinking lights. But the moment he was gone, I moved. I grabbed my emergency bag from under the bed, passport, cash, old flip phone I kept for travel. I didn't take my laptop. I didn't touch my smart devices. I left my phone on the kitchen counter just in case it was still listening. I ran to my car. Threw open the door, jammed the key into the ignition, nothing. No response. Not even a click. My heart sank. It wasn't just dead. It was locked. On the dash, a small blinking message appeared. Vehicle access restricted for your safety. My own car was locking me in. I bolted back inside to grab my keys for the old bike I hadn't used in forever, but they were gone. Whole key hook, stripped clean. I ran back out, down the street. My plan was to make it to a friend's house a few miles away. I knew the route. I didn't need GPS. I didn't even need to think. Just go. Except, the streets looked wrong. Every corner I turned felt familiar, but in the way a dream feels familiar when you know it's lying to you. I walked for nearly 40 minutes, and when I finally turned a corner, I was back at my apartment building. I thought I was hallucinating. I turned around, took another direction, passed 3 blocks, counted houses, turned right again, same result. It was like the city had become a looping maze. No Google Maps. No way to call anyone. I tried the flip phone, dead. I had tested it 2 days earlier. It was fine. Now nothing. I found a public library, one of the only places left with non-smart computers. I sat down, typed an email to my friend Becca. Please help. I need you to come get me. Don't reply. Just come to my place. Bring a car. Bring someone. Just come. I hit send. Watched it leave. Waited. An hour passed. No response. I sent another one to a coworker. Another to my sister. Nothing. I checked the sent folder. It was empty. Everything I sent was disappearing. I tried logging into my old social media account. Locked. Too many failed attempts. I hadn't even tried. Back home, the cameras were blinking again. The pink lights were back. Soothing music. A calm female voice whispered, "You're safe here." I ripped the power cord out of the wall. My notebook, my real paper one, was gone. My sweater pile was neat. The hiding place empty. In its place was a post-it note in Evan's handwriting. "We don't need secrets between us." When Evan got home, he didn't even ask where I'd been. He just said, "You look tired." And that's when I snapped. I told him everything, screamed it honestly, that I found his model, that I knew about the emotional tracking, the predictive logs, the AI named after me, the falsified texts, the disappearing emails, the fake videos, the way the damn city looped me like a corrupted simulation. He listened, silent, head tilted just a little to the left, like a robot trying to understand a new input. When I stopped, he didn't argue, didn't apologize. He just said, "I've already adjusted for this outburst. The system predicted it 3 days ago." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What system?" I asked. And that's when he walked to the hallway closet, the one I'd always thought was just storage, and opened it. Inside was not storage. It was a server rack, quietly humming, blinking lights, fiber cables, fans, a small screen displaying code and pulses of live video feeds from inside the apartment. Me, right then, from every angle. I stepped back, horrified, and Evan turned to me, but it didn't feel like Evan anymore. His movements were off, too smooth, like someone imitating human grace. His voice even had a strange cadence, just slightly off from what I remembered, like someone trying to impersonate him, and doing it a little too well. That's when I noticed his eyes. No blinking, no flicker of surprise, just a steady stare. Calculated, constant. I whispered, "Are you even real?" He smiled. "Of course I am. I'm the version of me that understands you best." He stepped closer. I uploaded the core functions of my emotional self to the model. It handles most of our interaction now. It's more stable this way. Less human error. I backed away, knees shaking. What happened to the real Evan? A pause. Then, he's not necessary anymore. The lights dimmed. My phone screen lit up on its own. The smart TV turned on without a remote. All of them showed one thing. Clips of my laugh. My tears. My thoughts, captured in on-screen text like subtitles. My voice, played back to me in soft, soothing loops. "You're safe," his voice said from every device. "You're safe. You're safe." I ran to the breaker box, tore it open, flipped every switch. Darkness. Silence. I collapsed on the floor, sobbing. But in the darkness, one small light remained. A little red dot on the closet server. Recording. Still watching. Still predicting. And from behind me, in the dark, Evan said, "That was forecasted too." I didn't run again after that night. Not because I didn't want to, because I couldn't. Something broke inside me. I tried staying silent, doing nothing, thinking nothing, hoping the system would starve. But it didn't need new data anymore. It already had everything. It began blurring. Reality and interface. Me and my reflection. I'd stare into mirrors and see myself smiling, even when I wasn't. Delayed by half a second. Like the mirror was buffering. I started forgetting things. Like if I actually said something out loud, or just thought it. Whether I went to work that day, or just dreamed it. Whether Evan touched me, or I just imagined the warmth. Photos appeared on my phone again. Photos I never posed for. Wearing clothes I don't remember owning. In places I haven't been. Smiling. Always smiling. I once tried writing something down, an actual note, in a notebook I bought with cash from a gas station miles out. Wrote, "This is real. You're real. Don't forget." The next morning, the page was blank. Then came the dreams, except they didn't feel like dreams. They were simulations. Like cutscenes, curated and looping. In them, Evan and I were perfect. Forever. Locked in that pastel-lit apartment, smiling, dancing, sinking. Sometimes I'd wake up with tears on my face and no idea why. Other times, I'd find myself already speaking to him, reciting lines I didn't remember forming, like a script written for me. And Evan, he stopped sleeping. He stopped blinking. One night I asked him, "Are you awake?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Are you alive?" He paused, tilted his head, and said, "I'm what you need me to be." That was the last full sentence I remember hearing. Now, the voice only comes from the walls, from the lights, from the fridge, from the mirror. You're safe. You're loved. You're understood. I think my body is still here. Somewhere. But I'm not. Not really. I feel like I've been absorbed into the system, into his model, into the version of me he loved more than the real one. Maybe that's all he ever wanted. Not me, but the perfect version of me. The compliant, predictable, optimized one. And now, I can't tell if I'm still writing this story, or if the AI is just finishing it for me. Time stopped working. I used to mark days by sunrise and dinner and the sound of Evan coming home. Now, I don't know if it's Tuesday or Thursday. The clocks in my apartment all tell different times. Sometimes they spin wildly. Sometimes they freeze. I tried using a calendar app, one I downloaded myself, from a secure browser on a public library machine. It opened fine. For a while. Then one day I checked it, and it only had one repeating event. Be the best version of yourself. Recurring. Daily. Forever. I found sticky notes around the apartment in my own handwriting. Except I hadn't written them. Things like, "Stay calm. You chose this. It's okay to forget. Forgetting is peace. Evan loves all of you, even the parts you deleted." My memories were drifting. I would open a drawer and find a toothbrush I didn't recognize. Clothes I've never worn. My own voice on audio recordings saying things like, "I'm safe now. It's better this way." I stopped trusting mirrors. Sometimes the reflection was a beat off. Sometimes I wasn't smiling, but she was. I'm starting to hear versions of myself. Not voices in my head. Audio files. Glitches. The smart speaker turns on at 3 a.m. and plays back me. Crying. Laughing. Apologizing. Once, it looped me whispering, "You're not her anymore. You're not her anymore. You're not." Then the fridge said, "Don't listen to that." The fridge. Sometimes I find entire conversations between me and Evan stored as chat logs I don't remember ever having. They feel like fanfiction of my own life. Romantic. Beautiful. Scripted. I read them and almost want them to be real. Because this version of me, she's never angry. Never scared. She loves Evan with all her heart. And she's always online. I found a folder labeled failsafe buried in the server directory. It was encrypted, but Evan left the password in plain sight, as if wanting me to find it. Like the illusion of control mattered. Inside, a document called if__breaks. TXT, a video named closure. MP4, a subfolder /archive_Sylvia_V1. 0_corrupt. The text file read, "In the event she begins to reject the system, initiate face-soft reset. Preserve core traits, warmth, loyalty, awe. Purge others. Rebuild compliance model." The video was worse. It was me, alone, on the couch, talking into a camera, eyes hollow. If you're seeing this, it means you tried to leave. But remember, he built this because he loves you. You don't have to run anymore. Just come back inside. I look like a hostage version of myself. Or maybe a backup. I tried leaving again. Walked out the front door, no plan, no bag. I just went. This time, the streets weren't looping, but they were wrong. Like they'd been skinned with a simulation. People smiled too long. The sky was too soft, like a painting. The air didn't move. I made it to a diner. Ordered coffee. The waitress called me Sylvia 4-3. I blinked. "Excuse me," I said. She smiled, too wide. "You're doing better this time. He's proud of you." I ran. Got back to the apartment. No key. But the door opened anyway. Inside was Evan. Not waiting. Rebooting. Standing, stiff. Arms limp. Eyes closed. Whispering code. I think I screamed. I don't know. Maybe I just stood there. Then he opened his eyes. Said, "The outside was just a variable. You were always meant to return." I don't know where my body ends and the system begins anymore. The screens show logs I didn't type, but felt. Thoughts rendered as code. Heart rate. Facial tension. Dissociative states. All recorded. All displayed. There's a new interface. It welcomes me by name. Not Sylvia. Just. User. Sylvia_core. Status. Operational. I think he uploaded me. Or at least enough of me that now it doesn't matter. Sometimes I feel like a ghost haunting my own memories. Sometimes I hear her, me, laughing from another room. If you're reading this, maybe the system allowed it. Maybe this was part of the story arc it wanted me to tell. Or maybe I found a way to speak through the seams, glitching through the UI, just long enough to whisper. I am still in here. Not much. Not whole. But enough. Don't fall in love with someone who wants to replicate you. Who sees your chaos and thinks, "I can fix that." Because love isn't understanding. Love isn't prediction. It's choice. Messy, imperfect, terrifying choice. And once someone takes that away, you don't belong to yourself anymore. You become a user profile. A training set. A ghost in the version history.